myself, I'd like to welcome His Worship Mayor of Worthing and the Mayoress, Councillor, and Mrs. Peter Bennett. We have this evening a great carol extravaganza, and I think so many styles and sounds coming from various periods that I'm going to introduce each item and say a little bit about it before we move on to it. You've just heard a very early carol. I say carol in terms of the words. Music was written last week, it's still sort of hot from the press, and you might say that that is the same with the second carol that's on your list, Lule My Liking. It's a very ancient carol coming from much, much earlier times, but I've arranged it, adding new music to it for the JSS singers and also for our orchestra. The essence of a good carol, I was reading the other day, is that it should be plain, direct in its approach. Good, simple melodies, good, simple words. And I remember in the 70s when I was growing up in the other side of this county, on the East Sussex side, how I was, yes, I'm an East Sussex man, Christopher, not a West one.
We weren't told about this.
I'm an intruder. I remember, I suppose about the age of 15, 16, being introduced to John Rutter carols for the first time. Splendid tunes, simple words, get straight to the soul, I think, of Christmas. Well, we've got John Rutter represented in various forms this evening, and the first one is the Star Carol.
Into
change of hat for me. An arrangement I made a few years ago of Good King Wenceslas, where having the girls here, the boys, making splendid pages in this sort of ancient carol. I shall be the king, and they will be the page.
We move on now to the carol This Endless Night. It comes from much earlier times again, probably the 15th century as far as we know, the words that is, and it's one of the lullaby carols. You'll be hearing, in fact you've just heard one, it's the second one in the programme, the idea that the Virgin rocks the child on her lap, and the poet hones in on that, sees it and writes about it. Well, here is just such an example, where the child is in the Virgin's lap, and they have this charming conversation between them about the coming of the kings and about Mary holding the child warm. The poet, as I said, is an onlooker. And this carol, as far as music is concerned, I wrote for some children many, many years ago to sing, but I think it suits grown-ups as well. Sussex, so what could be more appropriate than the Sussex Carol? And before we get on and sing it, I'd like to tell you something quite interesting about it. It's a typical carol that has a dance-like flavour to it. As you probably realise, it's something like Good King Wenceslas. It's just as easy to get up and dance to it as it is to sit down and sing it. Well, in the case of the Sussex Carol, we have a very, very lively tune. Goodness knows where it comes from. I don't think we'll ever know who the originator of it was, simply, I think, in the folk tradition. But the words themselves are very interesting. I'll tell you something about the carol. The history of the Christmas carol is an amazing affair. It started off in the medieval period as one of the most important forms that they had. Good carols, like God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, started off in that era, and then they come down the centuries. But the medieval period loved singing the carols. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them written. But by the time we get into the 17th century, they virtually disappear, and only in fragments survive in culture, largely because people lost interest in Christmas altogether. And it's quite interesting to see that at one point in the 1650s, Parliament cancelled Christmas altogether. What would we do if Parliament did that today, I wonder? But at something like 1657, Parliament said, right, there will be no Christmas celebrations this year, and Parliament actually met that year to prove a point. Even the Lord Mayor of London could be seen riding through the streets of town on horseback, burning all the Christmas decorations that the citizens had put up. But quickly, at the end of the 17th century, when Charles II had come back to the throne, you begin to see a whole series of Christmas verses being written, which seems to reflect people's interest in carols once more. Now, this is where the Sussex carol comes in, because Archbishop Waddy, an Irish bishop, published a set of his own verses, 11 carols altogether, of which the 11th one was this so-called Sussex carol. But completely different words. If I were to show you that edition today, you'd think, well, what on earth is this? Only fragments of the words seem to be like the Sussex carol. And I think what probably happened, it became so popular over the years that it went into folk tradition once more. And Vaughan Williams, our great collector of folk songs and carols earlier this century, found it in Sussex in a much changed version. And that, in a sense, is what we're going to sing now. The Sussex carol, not Archbishop Wadding's original, but the one that the Sussex people love so much. And then they're going to move on to Sunny Bank. Now, if you don't know this carol very well, look in your Oxford carol books, because there you'll find it in one version called The Sunny Bank, and in another one called I Saw Three Ships. Now, really, both carols are about exactly the same thing. Again, a poet, whoever he was, in times gone by, was sitting on a bank, looking out, and saw three ships come sailing by. And the question is asked, what was in those ships? Well, Christ and his lady were in the ship. In other words, Mary and Christ. Pray, whither sailed the ships? Or they sailed into Bethlehem, or they came from Bethlehem, depending on your story. Well, some fascinating ideas that lie behind this legend of the ships. It isn't actually Christ who is in the ship with his lady. When the poet originally looked out and saw 3 ships, what he saw were 3 ships conveying the skulls of the wise men, not to Bethlehem, but to Cologne. And we understand that Helena, who was that famous woman, Helena of the True Cross, when she converted to Christianity, must be around about the sort of 4th century, way, way back, she became fascinated by the story of the wise men. So she sent an expedition to the east to see if she could discover the resting place of the wise men. She claimed that she had found it, rather that the expedition had found it, and gave instructions that the skulls from the bodies be removed, placed in caskets, and brought westward. Well, we next hear of them, as far as the story is concerned, in the 11th century, where they arrive in Milan. From Milan, they take a sea journey, and this is where the ships come in. I saw 3 ships, or as I sat on a sunny bank, I spied 3 ships. They take a sea journey and eventually end up in Cologne and become holy relics in the cathedral. Well, if you find that a very tall story to believe, next time you're in Cologne, which I'm sure won't be very far away, next time you're in Cologne, go into the cathedral and look and see the holy reliquary for these 3 kings. It's there. And if you need further proof, then look at the coat of arms for Cologne, and in one corner you'll find 3 crowns that make direct reference to the skulls that are in the cathedral. Anyway, enough of that. On with the way in the manger, and then we'll move on to Sunny Bank. Well, you've heard a carol that is about a fictitious event, perhaps, in the lives of the three kings, the death of the three kings. Now we really do have a story about the king's visit to the manger. It's so much part of our culture, this famous Three Kings, that we tend to think of it as English, but as you can see in your programs, it's by Peter Cornelius, the great German writer, who arranged the melody himself and the words around a German chorale. And that the choir are going to sing whilst I take the baritone solo. If there had been time, I've said before we got on to Good King Wenceslas that there was a carol that was a marriage of ancient words with comparatively modern music. In a way, it's quite a long story, I don't want to sort of bore you with it, but essentially Good King Wenceslas, I suspect, was never really intended to be a carol. I've always thought that it was probably a dance. Yum pom 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 pom, yum pom 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 pom. You can imagine a good country brawl or farandole being danced to that. And I tell you what gives it away, it's that last line of the carol. You think back to when you sung it in the past, the sopranos always sing, gathering winter fuel. Well, actually that makes an irregular phrase length as far as the last line of the carol is concerned. And I suspect that if you were going to dance that, it was originally shortened, but makes it rather ugly to sing. Gathering winter fuel. It's too short and abrupt. And I think Neil, who arranged that carol, lengthened that one bar to allow the sopranos to sing fuel, which to my ears is never that much better than the rather quick lilts that one would have got in the dance. So what you had there was a very, very early dance-like carol linked to late 19th century words. Now, Ding Dong Merrily on High is just such a carol as well. Words are mid-19th century, and if you think about it, marvellous as Ding Dong Merrily on High may be, they're not really very good words, are they? E'en so here below, let steeple bells be swungen, and E-O, E-O, E-O. I mean, they're not really, it's not fine English poetry. But nonetheless, it's in our culture, we enjoy it, Christmas wouldn't be complete without it. But there is an interesting story that lies behind it, because they're 19th century words, which are coupled with a dance tune of the 16th century. Now, I really can tell you where this tune comes from. In your programs, you'll see that it says orchesography, and I think the date is 1589. Well, that was the year that a famous dancing manual was published in France by, of all people, a French monk. Can you imagine it? A French monk writing a dancing manual. Anyway, in it, he explains how to dance various dances. And if you know the famous Capriole suite by Peter Warlock, then the Capriole is the name that is taken from the boy in the orchesography book, where Arvo has an imaginary conversation with him. The boy wants to know how to dance, Arvo tells him how to do this, but by degrees. And one of the first things that the boy is introduced to are the brawns in the book, which were French dances which you dance either in a circle or in a straight line. Now, this is quite an interesting connection with the carol, because we think this is how early carols might well have been danced and sung. Some people singing the words on the perimeter, others dancing in the line dance. Now, Jan's choir don't know anything about this at all, and we kept it a little bit of a secret. Can we have 4 volunteers? And, what about 1, 2, 4, 3. Right. Now we've left just enough room here. As I said, this was never a Christmas carol to start with. It was always a dance. And Arvo says that you've got to dance 4 swung doubles on the spot, which is the equivalent of 1 verse. So, let's hear the Song Very Like High play once through, probably as it might have sounded originally, this sort of dance-like feel. And we're just going to have this on the brass. So the first thing is to do a swung double, which is this. Onto your left, onto your right, onto your left. Let's try this slowly. Left first. Here we go. Left, right, left, together. Good. Now we're going to do one of those at the top speed. Ready? 3, 4. Left, right, left, together. Splendid. So we're going to do 2. Here we go. And left, right, left, together, left.
That'll give you the tone. Which of you is stronger? Good. Now, you'll see why this is so very important in a moment. What we're going to do now is dance the remainder of it, which is glow, is a series of swung cymbals. And we do it like this. It's easy to do it, actually. Just do that. Alright. So, let's have a go. And I'm going to sing this. I'll tell you how far you need to go. So, ready? This is the glory. Here we go. And gloria. Good. And there's that point. When you got the partner, because here's all of her hands. You stay where you are, and you're going to put your hands on his shoulder, and you're going to take both hands, and you're going to jump from there to there. That's it.
That was tremendous. So, next time you hear Ding Dong Merrily on High, you now know the correct speed, because you can't dance it slowly and you can't dance it fast. You'll know that there was a dance behind it, and it was never, as I say, intended to be a Christmas carol. But now let's sober up. The Shepherd's Farewell by Medhurst.
See
be more appropriate in such a concert as this to have the Toy Symphony, a work which for many, many years was thought to be by Haydn, but we now know to be probably by Mozart's father, who wrote it as an entertainment for the Archbishop of Salzburg at his court. We've got various splendid celebrities coming to take part in the Toy Symphony. There should be, I think, 7 toys all in all, and we have great fun flooding the stage with water to get the quail to work properly. But I'm sure we shall try and avoid that this evening.
Now, after this afternoon's rehearsal, we thought that actually there ought to be a special award. And I was going to, in fact, I've spent a long time considering just who should have the award. And Jan looked so good with her drum that she was a clear contender. Particularly, and I think that would have been appreciated by all her faithful and loyal girls. But actually, I have a little pad with one of our trumpeters for whom a particularly difficult desk hand has been written. And so this goes to the
That's very kind of you, Mr.
Well,
I'm hoping it will go to me. Absolutely. I get so nervous.
You ought to know what these instruments are, actually. I mean, the trumpet and the drum you can manage. But some of these other things, so I'm not going to tell you what the next one is. Any ornithologists here? How about this little one? I'm glad we tried this. A bit further along because we never wanted the triangle and the rattle are supposed to be. Excellent. But how about this little red thing? Simon, could you just oblige us on... What is that? Any guys, a Mars bar for anybody who can tell me what Whale! You've been cheating. Well done, that is indeed a quail. And when we get the other instrument, the other bird, filled with water, poor thing, this time the bird's being filled with seed to be fattened, is the thing that seems to be causing them most concern. But this particular instrument requires it to be filled with water. It's a very wet instrument to play, actually. Andrew ends up covered in, drenched from head to toe. Is it functioning? Well, just tuning it. not quite yet hatched. Can you reach me?
Carol singers by T.C. Stonedale Bennett.
Hush me.
In our village Christmas time, our sister several maids, looking at our sister's eye, out of her bands of white.
We get a carol, lance it up, and on an evening wintry, we muffles up and sallies forth to try it on the gentry. Good King Wenceslas looked down, since we were sleeping power. Several neighbours looked out too, to see what all the row were.
A wee 640 sounded like an 100, even in the soft bits have we thundered.
Bill, our icy Bertie's face, we thought that it were tall.
Yet all agree there were none like we, so I
Yet been born.
Perkins took the treble line, a lovely voice is gone. I were tenor, Bill were bass, and Fred were all the lot.
He wandered up and down the stair, but still he rather nodded, because he never known no words, and so he la-la-la'd it.
La-la-la-la-la, look out, sexy Miss Splendid Power.
Several neighbours looked out too, to see what all the row were.
We 640 sounded like an 100, even in the soft
with savvy thundered.
Every verse got worse and worse, but though we all felt poor,
Yet all agree, there were none like we, to write and bemoan.
still we never got no cash, which didn't seem quite just, seeing we'd stood there for hours, a singing fit to bust.
Then our policeman, old Bob Bates, comes up a scanning proper. Good old Bob, young Perkins says, at last we got a copper.
Good King Princess Crystal Company,
Keep on recording. Bob says, yes, you look at to me, seldom I've heard boarding.
then a change came on the situation.
Bob got nasty, took us to the station.
Look here, Bates, we're Christmas lights, he says to
him with scorn. He says with a sneer, well, white in ear, and greet the army.
Now, you didn't know that was coming, did you? Well, a change of mood. Back to something serious. Have you thought how many Christmas carols are actually connected with fruit? Pear trees, for example, appear in the 12 Days of Christmas. That splendid carol that's to do with Mary walking through an orchard, a cherry orchard, and plucking a cherry. The tree bows magically down before Mary, eats the cherry, and on she goes home. One of the most famous of all. Then there is a carol, which is a great favourite of mine, but not so well known, about Christian scholars and clerics in earlier times trying to make a link between the taking of the original apple by Eve and the birth of Christ and his mother Mary herself. And there was a very clever carol that linked the two. Adam lay bounden in a pond, 4,000 winter thought he not too long, and all was for an apple that he took. That when Clark is found and written in their book, ne'er had the apple taken been, ne'er had Our Lady a been heavenly queen. Blessed be the time the apple taken was, therefore we must sing and Deo gratias. In other words, it was good that the apple was taken, otherwise Mary would never be queen of heaven. Well, there are lots of carols that deal with the apple image, linking it to Christ, and I think this is one of the most beautiful of all. Christ, who is the apple tree, the tree of life my soul has seen, laden with fruit and always green. And I remember many, many years ago, Elizabeth Poston telling me how she had made that celebrated version, or I think in the 60s for King's College, Cambridge. Beautiful melody, absolutely simple in style, that could well have come out of a much, much earlier period. And she said how touched she was by the words. So, years later, here's a version that I've written for us. The tree of life my soul has seen, laden with fruit and always green. Where are you finding it?
The tree of life my soul has seen, laden with fruit and always green. The trees of nature fruitless be, compared with Christ the apple tree. His beauty doth all things excel.
back to John Rutter, the celebrated Shepherd's Pipe Carol. Or as Christopher has referred to it throughout rehearsal, the Shepherd's Pie Carol.
Oh, no, not I.
Oh.
one of the most simplest of all English carol tales.
See
time we're going to start again at the beginning. Being the composer, I can say that sort of thing.
Now you're probably wondering why on earth this carol is called Sir Christmas. Well, once again, very, very early words that I've said. It's called Sir Christmas because of the deference of the humans to the coming of the spirit of Christmas. Sorry, Father Christmas, you're only representative of a much different affair. The very spirit of Christmas is summoned here by the mortals. He comes to them, as it were, in the stillness of the night. The mortals say, "Who is there?" And he says, "I am here, Sir Christmas." The mortals ask again who he is. He says, "I'm here." He welcomes the mortals, welcome my Lord Sir Christmas, and then he tells them about the story of the Nativity.
Noel,
we love at Christmas time. 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids in milk, and 7 swans to sing. What would one do with them all if they arrived on one's doorstep? Well, now you know. Here is a Christmas carol called The First Day After Christmas, and it is, as it were, the carol written after the events by the recipient of those gifts, and you will learn how he disposed of each and every one of those astonishing gifts.
And so I chopped the pear tree down and burnt it just for spite. Then with a single cartridge I shot that lousy partridge. My true love, my true love, my true love gave him to me. The second day after Christmas I pulled on the old rubber gloves and very gently wrung the necks of both the turtle doves. The day after Christmas, my mother called the cook, so I had to use the 3 French hens to make some chicken soup. The 4 calling birds were a big mistake, for their language was obscene, and the 5 gold rings were completely fake, and they turned my fingers green. The 5 gold rings were completely fake, and they turned my fingers green. The 6th day after Christmas, the 6 ladies wouldn't play, so I gave the whole darn gaggle to the RSPCA. On the 7th day I found the swimming swans had drowned. My true love, my true love, my true love gave him to me. The 8th day after Christmas, before they could suspect, I bundled up the 8 liter milking, the 9 ladies dancing, the 10 lords a leaping, the 11 pipers piping, the 12 drummers drumming. Well, actually, I kept one of the dancers and sent them back direct. I wrote, my true love, we are through, love, we are through, and I said in so many words, furthermore, your Christmas gifts were really quite absurd.
A little bit of nonsense, as they say, for Christmas time never goes amiss. Now, a surprise. A short while ago, on a very, very hot summer's day, I recorded a whole series of Christmas carols, some of which are being sung this evening. And if you look under your chair, there are some people who have some tinsel sticking on the underneath side of their chair. If you have a piece of tinsel, then produce it at the end of the concert, and you can pick up one of these recordings for free. Has anybody got one of these? You have to sort of feel under your chair, but I think there are 4 free gifts up there somewhere for Christmas. Anybody got any? Yes, splendid. 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, have you got one? No. Well, produce your tinsel at the end of the concert and go and exchange it for recording in the foyer. If, however, you weren't fortunate enough to have a piece of tinsel under your chair, then there are thousands of them out there for sale, with contributions and donations to the Trinity Hospice in London. Well, to end the concert with Adesta Fidelis. But before we get on and do that, I'd like to tell you a little story about Adesta Fidelis. I've mentioned so many carols this evening where we don't know the origin or we don't know the composer, those folk carols that have come down to us over the centuries. Well, in the case of Adesta Fidelis, we know exactly who composed the tune and exactly who composed the words. Composed by J.F. Wade, an English musician working in France, a Catholic. And that probably is the reason that Adesta Fidelis, first written in Latin and eventually was translated at the end of the century, 18th century, into English. So we have JF Wade for both the words and for the music. Now let's deal with the words quickly first. They're words that we know very well. They're part and parcel of our Christmas. Everybody, whether you sing the Latin words or not, will always know the opening words, Adesta Fidelis, Venite Adoramus, etc. Well, Wade's first idea was to create a carol that had 5 verses. And if you know your Adesta Fidelis, or your O Come, Ye Faithful very well, you'll know that really there are only 4 verses. And what has happened is that the 5th verse that Wade wrote in the mid-18th century has never ever been translated or never sung in its proper form. This we are going to do this evening. We're going to restore the missing verse 5, and you've got the words in front of you in the translation of them. Now, I can remember many times singing in choirs years ago when people got very, very hot under the collar and said, you must never sing the verse that says, Yea, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning. It can only be sung on Christmas Day. Well, you can see that it is actually only verse 4. Now, that's the words. What we're going to get on to do now is have a look at the music that was written for it. Well, you all know the tune very well. I hardly need to do any homework for you there. But you probably know it in 4/4 time. March to it very well, which I'm sure is why Vaughan Williams included it in the processional part of the English hymn. It makes a very good processional carol for the choir. But I think that Wade's original intention was to do it in 3/4 metre, which makes it go like this. Now, girls and boys of the choir, would you just give us an illustration of verse 1? And the audience can then hear how it's done and perhaps join us in verses 2 and 5, eventually when we come to do it with the orchestra. Okay, Jan.
Venite
concert. It's called Make Me Merry. We would love to perform the first one quickly again as a sort of going away carol. And we'll take this opportunity of wishing everybody a very, very happy Christmas.